Welcome to my top 15 smartphones from the whole of 2018, and I've put them in some kind of rough order just based on how much each one has impressed me. Let's get right into it. Number 15 is the Sony Xperia XZ3, and just generally it's a bit of a weird phone. Everything from its general shape to just where the fingerprint scanner is placed. But actually there is a lot to like here. The HDR screen is very good, especially with video, and the camera is a big improvement from past generations. Alright, then we've got the very recent Nokia 7.1. And it's not a flagship phone, but in some ways feels like the compact flagship phone we always wanted. For the price, it's not amazingly powerful, but the camera is very capable with a lot of features to play around with, and Android One means it's got zero bloatware and the latest updates. Not to mention, it feels just really robust. Then we've got the Honor Play, which aims to be a gaming phone, but while it was at it, managed to become one of my go-to recommendations for anyone on a budget. The screen isn't just fantastic, but the screen-to-body ratio too. It's as high on this phone as it is on the $1,000 Galaxy Note 9. It's also powered by the Kirin 970 chip, which is not the most powerful chip in the world, but was good enough for the 2018 flagship Huawei P20 Pro, and so it's more than good enough on this phone at barely a third of the price. iPhone XS and iPhone XS Max. I've been using the XS Max on and off ever since its launch, and I'm constantly impressed by the cameras, especially the front camera and how it handles HDR. Battery life too on the Max surprised me, although I'm still annoyed that they include such a slow charger in the box. It takes over 3 hours to charge this phone with the given charger. That's like twice as long as my MacBook. We do also have the XR, but personally I've not been as impressed by this. I'd say the screen is only as good as competitors up to about the $350 mark, and even the battery life, which was meant to be one of the main selling points of the phone, just hasn't been that great. OPPO Find X, a phone that is just beautiful from every angle. It's surrounded by gracious curves, and has a display with easily one of the highest screen-to-body ratios out there. I would say it is let down by the lack of a lot of standard features that you just come to expect, like IP rating, NFC, a microSD card, headphone jack, and even a fingerprint scanner. And this leads me on to the VIVO NEXS, and these two phones are often bundled together, but that is because they are a very similar proposition. But with the NEXS, you're getting an in-display fingerprint scanner, a headphone jack, and a lower price tag. I would say it doesn't look quite as slick as the OPPO, but at the same time is a better value proposition. Number 9 is the Honor 8X, which I did switch to for a few days, and normally when I switch out from a flagship phone to a cheap phone, it's not a fun process. I normally can't wait to just get back to my old phone. But this was different because, in my opinion, the 8X is one of the best looking phones all year, and there was so much to play around with, like real night mode on the camera, that I actually kind of enjoyed it. Next up is the ASUS ROG Phone, and I've managed to go hands-on with not just that, but pretty much all of its main gaming phone competitors, but to me, the ROG Phone feels like the one to go for. It has most of the pillars of a good flagship, even, to my surprise, good cameras, but also all of those over-the-top gaming-centric features that you secretly want. Things like a vapor cooling chamber, 90Hz display, which does actually feel noticeably smoother than the 60 on most phones, and even a side-mounted charging port, so you can carry on gaming even when you're plugged in. Then we've got the Mate 20, which is a very different phone from the Mate 20 Pro, but at the same time very much a flagship and very much worth the money. The cameras and the charging speed aren't as impressive as that phone, but still pretty good. And then when it comes to performance, screen-to-body ratio and battery life, it beats almost every Android phone out there. The Samsung Galaxy Note 9. And this is a phone that I use day to day for 2 months straight, and I found it to be not just reliable, but also pretty fully featured. It's built like a tank with good initial battery life. But unfortunately, the battery deteriorated very quickly, and after 2 months, I was barely getting a day on a single charge. Not to mention that whilst its variable aperture is definitely useful, it's kind of been beaten out by phones from Huawei and Google that pretty much use software alone to take better night mode shots. Okay, top 5, and kicking things off, we've got the Pixel 3 XL, which, like its predecessor, is a phone that isn't really done justice by its specifications alone, because a big part of its proposition is in the software. For example, the combination of new touch sounds, a faster UI, and improved vibration feedback make every action just feel really good, whether that's typing, pulling down the notification bar, or just scrolling. Not to mention, while the camera is not as big of an upgrade as the Pixel 2 was over the Pixel 1, Google has added quite a few meaningful improvements, like wide-angle selfie and the new night sight mode, which pretty much works like magic. And if you haven't seen my video on this, I'll leave it as a card above. Okay, number 4 is the REALME 2 Pro. You might remember that when I made my roundup video for the middle of 2018, I featured pretty highly the Xiaomi Mi 8 II. Well, the REALME 2 Pro is a very similar proposition, but better in pretty much every way. It misses out on being an Android One phone, which is definitely a shame, but compensates by being cheaper, prettier, and having a headphone jack and expandable storage. ONEPLUS 6T, and on one hand this is an incredible value phone, but on the other hand, I'm not as impressed by it as I was the 6 just a few months ago. I'd probably have preferred a camera improvement instead of the in-display fingerprint scanner. And while companies like Xiaomi and Huawei have massively picked up the pace in 2018, the ONEPLUS 6T feels like one giant sidestep. But that doesn't change the fact that you're getting a serious amount of phone for the money here. And I definitely appreciate the extra bit of battery in this new phone. Okay, number 2 is the POCOPHONE F1, which basically has the performance of the ONEPLUS 6T without the price of it. And the ONEPLUS 6T is hardly an expensive phone as it is. And what surprised me about this phone is that I tried really hard to find some sort of major flaw here. You'd think that surely with performance this good at this price, that the battery would suck, or that the camera doesn't take good photos, or that it's really fragile, but none of this is true. Turns out that aside from its issue with HD video in Netflix, it is very tough to fault, and even has IR face unlocking that works in the dark. Okay, that leaves us with one phone, and this might be a complete surprise to you, or you might have seen it from a mile away, but that device is the Huawei Mate 20 Pro. It is the phone I've chosen to use daily, and in so many areas it is not just good, but outstanding. When it comes to camera, battery life, performance, and charging speed, it blitzes every Android phone out there. And I'm not getting paid to say any of this. Since using this phone, I've had a fair few moments that just feel straight out of a commercial. For example, a couple of weeks ago I was on a plane, and outside the plane it was dark, but it looked incredible. And I remember the moment where everyone around me was fiddling around with flash, and I was just there using night mode, and I'm pretty sure my photo turned out better than theirs. So yeah, it's not a perfect phone, and a few people I've talked to about it just can't stand the way the software looks, but for me it's been very good so far. But I will keep you updated because things change. Thank you so much for watching, it really does mean a lot to me. My name is Aaron, this is Mr. Who's the Boss, and I'll catch you in the next one.